Welcome to the Woman's Connection. I'm Barrie-Louise Switzen, your moderator. The Woman's Connection is a program about events shaping women's lives and helping one gain authentic power on a personal or professional level. So won't you stay tuned?
Welcome. With me is Louise Gittleman, a leading nutritionist. And guess what we're going to talk about? Louise, thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure to be here, Barrie.
You've written many books. One of the books that you've written recently is the Living Beauty Detox Program. How did you come about writing this?
It's a good question. And I guess because I've written so many books just about health that I figured it was high time to really go after the beauty angle. I mean, because there's nothing more, shall we say, moving about changing your habits than looking in the mirror and seeing the blotches, the lines, the pimples that may be created by what's going on inside. So I'm trying to turn the whole concept of beauty from the inside out and really look from within at the proper nutrients, the proper supplements, and the right kind of diet that can make all of us living beauties.
Well, how does one go about finding out what's proper for themselves?
Oh, that's the big question these days, isn't it? I think part of that is really knowing a little bit about your heredity, number one, and then number two, taking a look at my Living Beauty Cleansing Questionnaire that targets different seasons of the year and associates various organs with each season.
Why each season?
Well, because according to traditional Chinese medicine, for which I've had much respect over these many years, what we have learned is that each season is coordinated with a particular organ. For example, spring is the liver season. And so between March 21st and June 21st, you would support and cleanse the liver, which is your major detoxification center for the entire body. When you move into summer, it's time to work on the heart. The lungs really take full place in the autumn, and then the kidneys and adrenals in the winter. So each season has its particular target organ, and that's the time to take more tender loving care in terms of herbs and diet. It's what the program is all about.
How fascinating. So you time your cleansing with the seasons.
With Mother Nature, exactly. And sometimes you can't tell by looking outside, you know, that it's spring or summer these days.
Especially when there's snow on the ground, right?
And I live in Montana. There could be snow, you know, in June. So we don't necessarily look at that. But you know the calendar, and your body certainly has its own circadian rhythm. And you really do target cleansing according to that seasonal shift. So spring cleansing uses the liver and a little bit of dandelion root tea, which is so cleansing and supportive of that major detox organ. We then go on and change the herbs according to the detox season, as well as the organ that's up for a little bit more care. And I use some other methodologies like high colonics, enemas, and castor oil packs accordingly.
Oh my God. Now, how long does one stay on the detox program if you want to cleanse your body?
You know, it really depends upon what your score is with that Living Beauty Cleansing Questionnaire. Most people stay on from 3 days, which is a nice long weekend, to 2 weeks. And you can take it in various steps and stages. Many people start with a 2-week fat flush, which is it's at the back of the book. If you take a look at the book, you look in the back, it says 2-week fat flush. All of my readers go on that program first, and then they go through the spring, the summer, the fall, and the winter. They start backwards with my book.
Okay, so wait a minute. Well, let's go to the fat. You say you go on a fat diet?
No, we go on a fat flush diet.
Fat flush diet.
But the fat flush diet flushes
Right.
fat by using the right kind of fat in the program.
Okay, question. Avocados.
Yes, it's a good fat.
Okay, but why? That's got me kind of confused because I always thought that avocados were a bad fat. And then the New York Times had an article about good cholesterol fat.
They're getting on the bandwagon, yes.
So it is a good fat.
Yes, it's a wonderful fat. And it's
Oh,
a
good, because I
beautifying fat.
love avocados.
Oh, well, then you're going to love the book because we've got lots of menu plans that include avocados, you know, seasonally. It's a great breakfast food. It's so easy to just mash up an avocado and put it on a slice of whole grain toast and you're out the door.
Well, what other foods have got good fat?
Sounds like an anomaly, doesn't it? Good fat. Well, I mean, good fat, let's see. We're looking at nuts. And the
Okay.
studies show that if you eat nuts maybe 5 times a week, you'll lower your cholesterol a good 20 points. So nuts are part of my program. Almonds, the king of the nuts. 10
Great.
almonds a day keeps the doctor away.
It sounds almost like an apple.
Yeah, but it's now the almonds because they're so high in magnesium and the good fats, which are similar to the avocados. That's the monounsaturates. You've got nuts like peanuts. You've got seeds like pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, as well as your sunflower seeds. And you've got oils like olive oil. And
Okay.
you've got flaxseed oil, which is my magical, miracle, fat-burning fat that's part of the diet.
Well, can you use any of these ingredients like the flax seed oil without being on the detox program?
Absolutely. And the reason that I have those as part of the program is I want to teach people to eat their way to beauty 365 days of the year, even if they're not so-called cleansing. They're going to get used to that wonderful buttery taste, then you can't live without it.
Okay, but this is good. It helps lower the cholesterol.
Oh, it lowers the cholesterol, it protects your breasts, good for immunity, it gets rid of asthma, and it's good for those children or adults that have attention deficit disorder. It really calms the nervous system, it helps you focus better. Lots of studies are showing that many adults and children are deficient in the essential fatty acids because we've gone fat-free erroneously for the past 10 to 15 years. So fat is back, and it's really good for cleansing, the best internal moisturizer, so it's part of living beauty.
Well, that's like the omega-3 oils of the fish.
Yeah, that's it. It's the amazing omegas, and
I
I call them the amazing omegas. And yeah, you get it in fish, fatty fish like salmon. Sardines is a wonderful anti-aging food, high in the omega-3s. The mackerel, we've got the flaxseed. And you've got the omegas as well in botanicals that you get in the health food store. Women use, for example, evening primrose oil, really good for menstrual cramps, as well as migraines. And then the omega-9s, where the avocado comes into play, as well as olive oil. So fats are back, and it's the right kind of fat because, Barry, not all fats are created equal, and I've been writing about that for many years.
Okay, so, but we're talking about eliminating chocolate, because I want to talk to you about chocolate, because that's one of my favorite all-time foods.
Yes.
And meat is high in fat.
Yeah, so not all fats are created equal. I mean, the saturated fats as well as the trans fats are really the bad guys in margarine and in shortening. But a little bit of lean meat, and hopefully it's organic, I believe has a rightful place on our dinner plates. Chocolate, bittersweet chocolate, is real high in antioxidants, but it also comes, you know, in a candy bar that has the saturated fats and a little bit of sugar. In moderation, I think that's fine. But you know what they say, that if you crave chocolate, you're actually deficient in magnesium, which is a very important mineral that's part and parcel of my Living Beauty Detox program.
Okay, because you also wrote another book called Why Am I Always So Tired? And you talk about chocolate and magnesium as well as calcium.
Yes, indeed. As well as chocolate being a high source of copper, which may affect our energy.
Okay.
So it's a double-edged sword, as many of these foods are.
All right, so let's talk about chocolate, because I know a lot of women love it.
Get right down to chocolate.
Exactly. I love chocolate. Chocoholic here. All right, but I have given it up a little bit because of the saturated fat in it.
Right.
And I'm a milk chocolate eater.
Okay. So my sense is that a little bit of chocolate may actually be a brain food for you. It may be an energy food for you. You may need either the magnesium that's in the chocolate or the extra copper, because chocolate is also a very high source of copper. And some of us are either deficient in or have excessive amounts of that particular mineral. And it sounds like if you're craving it and you do well on it, more power to you.
But it also gains weight from it.
Well,
that's
then
the problem.
that's the downside. So then you know that you just limit your amounts. And again, it should be bittersweet if you can tolerate, you know, kind of that bittersweet
I like
taste.
milk chocolate.
Okay, so it's out the window. Just do some magnesium and a little extra copper, perhaps.
Let's go back a minute. You mentioned asthma.
Uh-huh.
What other foods should people eliminate or increase in their diet?
In terms of asthma,
Right.
I think that the most important element in asthma is to recognize that the mineral magnesium, which acts to relax spasms all over, you know, in your bronchial tubes as well as in your tummy, good for headaches, is extremely important. So any food that contains magnesium probably would have a beneficial effect on asthma, because the studies show that magnesium, 400 milligrams to 800 milligrams, is really good at alleviating the symptoms of asthma. So that would be your almonds. Magnesium is pretty high in a lot of dark beans and, you know, kidney beans, lentils, or in your leafy green vegetables. But I opt for the almonds because they're so easy to grab as a snack, you know, and they're portable. You don't have to think about it too much. Magnesium, I think, is real good for asthma. You want to get rid of dairy products. Oftentimes that can provide a lot of mucus, a lot of phlegm. It can clog the system, and sometimes even gluten, which is found in many wheat products. So get rid of the milk for a little bit, get rid of the gluten for at least 3 weeks, and if the asthmatic symptoms seem to improve, then that elimination diet has paid off.
Wow. In your book, The Living Beauty Detox Program.
It's a tongue twister.
It certainly is. You have beauty routines for all ages and stages.
Yeah.
Okay, you talk about tips for avoiding wrinkles at all stages of women's lives. You want to share some of them?
Well, the wrinkles, the real interesting part about that many of us know, is that you have to stay out of the sun. It's the biggest wrinkle, shall we say, booster. So stay out of the sun. Okay, 90% of skin damage is created by the sun. Most of us know that. We wear sunscreen most of the time. But if you really want to stave off wrinkles, taking an additional vitamin C is probably your best friend, because the C is able to allow your skin to produce more collagen, which keeps your skin very dewy, very fresh, and the elasticity as if you're a 25-year-old. So more vitamin C internally with foods, you know, that are very colorful. You've got your oranges, you've got your leafy green vegetables, peppers, melons. And you can put the vitamin C these days, Barry, on your skin in skin creams, whereby they add a certain amount of vitamin C and it acts like a targeted guided missile right to your skin and where you need it the most.
Well, let me ask you something. I use cocoa butter a lot.
I think that's a great thing. You put it on your skin?
I put it on my face and all over my body, especially when I'm in the sun.
Oh, I think cocoa butter, you know, I'll tell you something interesting. It has a certain kind of antioxidant that can actually be very protective against certain of the rays of the sun. And a lot of times, you know, women use cocoa butter, and I talk about that in Living Beauty, when they're having a baby, just so they do not have those stretch marks.
Right.
It keeps the skin very supple, and you've got lovely skin, so obviously it is paying off.
Well, thank you very much.
And beauty dividends.
You talk about cleansing the inner self.
Oh, yes. In the book, we've got a chapter on detoxing the emotions, which to me is really the inner self. And to me, true beauty is really the spirit kind of bursting through the flesh, as Rodin once said. That was not my original quote, but I loved it so much that I've written about it in Living Beauty. And I think you got to get rid of all those toxic emotions that we oftentimes suppress. You know, many times women wear these frozen expressions of grief, anxiety, depression on their face. And so we got to get rid of what's in the subconscious that's kind of driving those emotions. And when you get rid of the physical toxins on my Living Beauty cleanses, then those start bubbling up to the surface, and it's time to really deal with what's inside. And it's amazing, because people, for the first time in their lives, start to recognize, hey, maybe I am depressed, I'm grieving, and they get professional help, or they use the techniques of affirmation, meditation, journaling, connected breathing that have worked for me on a very personal level.
Well, so many people are going into menopause, the baby boomers. All right. Depression, sweats,
Anxiety,
anxiety,
irritability,
right.
lack of focus of attention, bloating, not being able to lose weight the way you used to, crying and weeping when you're at stop signs. I mean, I know that one. Yeah, I mean, that's part and parcel of the change of life, at least with our generation.
Well, what would you suggest are some things, foods that women can take or eat or increase in their diet
To alleviate
to
that.
alleviate all these symptoms?
You know what I would say? I would say that flaxseed oil, and again, we're back to the old flaxseed oil, is a really good idea for women that are in menopause or perimenopause, which is before the change. And that happens with women as early as 35 these days. Flaxseed oil, a good combination of flaxseed oil and evening primrose oil. And there's a product that I discuss in Living Beauty called the Essential Woman Oil that's been just wonderful for perimenopausal and menopausal symptoms. You use it as natural hormone replacement because the lignans in flaxseed oil combined with the evening primrose oil really balance your estrogen and your progesterone. You're leveled out, you're not overly weepy anymore, anxiety, depression, and your sleep patterns also improve. So there are some answers, and I think one of the answers is in the proper fats that nourish the reproductive system.
Okay, but nobody should really do any of this until they consult their doctor.
No, I think women can start taking that right away. It's a natural food. I mean, it's natural hormone replacement, meaning if you're suffering from PMS,
Right.
or if your periods start to get irregular, you're going to want to smooth things out. You can do it quite naturally with a food. The evening primrose oil, the flaxseed oil are considered food. They're dietary supplements. And many women, Barry, use this in addition to the synthetic hormone replacement or the natural herbs that they're taking from the health food store. It's a wonderful combination. So you can't go wrong with food. That's really one of my mottos. That's if you're eating the food. I mean, you've got to eat it, you know, to really make that help you.
You're talking about organic pesticides. It reminded me of Rachel Carson in Silent Spring.
Oh, yeah, she sounded the alarm, didn't she? So many
certainly
years
did.
Spearheaded a whole movement, indeed. Well, what we're learning is that since World War II, that there is a whole new breed of toxins out there known as xeno, which means foreign estrogens, and that we feel that a lot of the breast cancer and even prostate cancer may be connected to these foreign estrogens, and they appear in pesticides that have an estrogenetic effect. They kind of mimic estrogen in the body. You get it in pesticides. Plastics, you know, if you use a plastic container, you put it in the microwave, plastic
Right.
migrates into the food, estrogenetic effect. And then, of course, the birth control pill that many of us have been on for years and years and years. All that adds up to more estrogen in the system. And I think that's creating much of the disease, disorder, and discomfort that we're experiencing. It puts us into a condition that I talk about a lot in Living Beauty, which is estrogen dominance.
So that's another thing that we have to be aware of is all these pesticides that you want to call them.
Yeah, pesticides and secondary hormones.
Right.
Because they're in the food. You know, they feed the chickens to make them give better eggs or faster eggs. I mean, it's fed to the animals to bring them to, you know, to slaughter. They're fatter. And they've got a lot of these hormones in them, which are estrogenic, that eventually get into us. So the meat products and the dairy products, if they're not organic, are giving you a hefty dose of hormones that may be shifting your own hormone balance. So it's a good idea to go organic. I think, you know, that's another message in Living Beauty, and it's a very important message for women that want to be healthy and cancer-free for as long as they live.
Because it reminded me of a story. My grandmother never really used plastic. It was always glass because she didn't like the chemicals from plastic.
She was smart.
She didn't like to use plastic wrap. It was
Wax paper.
wax paper,
that
thank
she
you.
used.
Yes.
Yeah.
She always was natural.
And you know what you can do in this day and age? You can use the plastic paper first over your food. Then you can put maybe that clingy plastic wrap. That's a good idea.
That's
don't
true
you think?
too,
Yeah.
especially putting it in the freezer if you want to make something in advance or whatever.
Yeah, there are ways of getting around technology, but the plastics have that effect, that estrogenetic effect, and too much estrogen is not good because it may fuel breast cancer as well as prostate cancer. So
Oh,
these are
man.
simple things we can all shift and change. We can control these things in our environment, which I think is very empowering.
Very much so. You travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What foods do you travel with?
Which foods do I travel with? My essential woman oil I travel with. I
Uh-huh.
take these capsules, 12 a day. 12 a day equals 1 tablespoon of the oil, of the essential woman oil. So I have my essential fatty acids for the skin, for the hair, for the nails, and also because it keeps my nervous system kind of toned down, keeps me really calm. So I travel with that. I travel with water.
Okay, any special kind of water?
I go to Safeway,
Uh-huh.
and I get kind of an ozonated water, and it says ozonated, purified and ozonated water on the label. And you can get this kind of water. It's very inexpensive, 89 cents, I believe, you know, for a nice. It's a nice quart.
You're not in New York.
Oh, well, maybe a little bit more here. In Bozeman, Montana, it's 89 cents. But the idea is you can get water. I mean, I get that in the grocery store. I don't think you
Okay.
necessarily have to get bottled fancy water, you know, in other locales. So the water, the oil is very important to me. And then because I just can't carry my food, I bless it. I make
Uh-huh.
sure that I bless my food. Yes, I don't eat a lot of salads. That I'm very careful about.
Because?
Because I don't know if the lettuce has been properly washed. I'm very concerned about microorganisms, another kind of uninvited toxin that can get into the system.
Okay.
So mostly everything is cooked, and I have things well cooked. In other words, medium well to well done, just to make sure that there's no bacteria or uninvited visitors that are still left in the food that I'm eating.
Sounds like when I travel in a third world country.
Well, yes, exactly. And I think that because we're living in a global village, you really have to be proactive in that regard.
Wow. Do you travel with any clothes with all this food?
Well, then that's the last thing I fit in. The crinkly, wrinkly look, thank God, is in. So I don't have to worry too much about that.
So you take crinkly clothes, which is really great.
Yeah, because I don't have room for a lot of things because of the water, because of the vitamins,
Right.
you know, all that really important stuff.
But let me just jump back a second. Soy milk, soy products.
Oh, yes.
What do you think of them?
It's a good question. I think in moderation they're probably healthful, but I don't recommend that women take more than 40 milligrams of soy-based isoflavones or phytoestrogens a day. There's some very questionable concerns. I don't know if that makes sense, but there are some concerns that are now being raised about soy, which I've always just intuitively had myself, and that is that soy products taken morning, noon, and night in the processed form that we're currently eating them, you know, in the shakes and the milk and the analogs, the soy burgers, may be too much of a good thing and may be affecting the thyroid and also affecting the absorption of certain minerals, mainly zinc and iron. So I think a
Interesting.
little bit is okay. I wouldn't overdo it. That's
24
just
grams a day?
40.
Oh, no, but 24 grams a day, is that okay?
Oh, well, the
Basically?
FDA says 25
Oh.
grams a day. I think that's too high, personally. I say go easy on the soy
Okay.
and don't have it on I don't think you need it necessarily on a daily basis. I think moderation is the key, and if it hasn't been part of your ancestral diet, I wouldn't just start eating soy. It can be very allergic producing to many Americans.
Oh, interesting.
So that's my soy. That's what I think about soy.
Okay, let's go on to salt. Since we're in the S's, let's
We're-
talk
oh,
about salt.
Okay, from soy to salt. Got to be the right salt, unrefined sea salt, and make sure, and there's some name brands, of course, in the book, but I really like real salt because it has magnesium added to it, not just sodium chloride.
Well, I don't add salt to my food because it retains the water. I learned this a long time ago.
Yes.
But what I found out is that tomatoes are high in natural salt.
In natural sodium, but that's
Sodium,
a good
I mean,
kind.
just-
Your body needs natural sodium. I mean, it's a muscle relaxer. A lot of people that are arthritic actually have a deficiency of natural sodium. And if you have low blood pressure, a little bit of natural salt and sodium is probably very helpful. So
Okay.
that's something that's very individualized, I believe, just like the taking of soy should be.
How does one find a happy me?
You could, sometimes through trial and error, from knowing your body well, from looking at your family in terms of what runs in the family and what you have to be aware of. For example, diabetes runs in my family, so I can't overeat sugar. I don't take a lot of liquor in my system. I mean, I just can't tolerate it. It's kind of this genetic predisposition, but you can control all of your tendencies, I believe, with diet, with exercise, with thinking the right thoughts, and the right dietary supplements.
Wow, you've got to keep a track of a lot of things.
Well, if you're in the business, you do, yeah. And it's, and I guess sometimes, Barry, I think we get in the business because we have to be the student of our own words.
Shrimp. I love shrimp.
Do you?
Is that good cholesterol or bad cholesterol?
It doesn't affect cholesterol. We used to think it does, but it doesn't. You want to make sure that the shrimp is taken from healthy waters, of course. A good source of iodine, and that's good for the thyroid in many cases. Shrimp also is a good source of copper. So for those individuals that need a little extra copper, it's a good source. I think in moderation, all seafood, which is well cooked, really has its place, its rightful place on anybody's dinner or their luncheon plate.
Let me ask you one crazy question. Somebody I know who's a diabetic has a very low HDL,
Okay.
which surprised me, but a very high LDL.
Okay.
How can they raise their HDL?
They're good HDL. Okay, so the
Right.
HDL is the
The
good
good,
cholesterol.
correct.
We want to raise that. I'll tell you something, flaxseed oil, the flaxseed evening primrose oil combination in Essential Woman has done that.
But this is a man.
He can take this. He can take it. Essential
Okay.
Woman is for men. My book, Living Beauty, is also for men, although there's a beautiful woman on the cover. I would take 1 to 2 tablespoons of that oil a day. It has done wonders in raising HDL and lowering LDL. But what we need to remember is that LDL is oxidizing cholesterol. So we have to give him a good antioxidant in addition to that combination. So maybe 400 IUs, up to 800 perhaps, of vitamin E. Vitamin E is for everything, including lowering the bad cholesterol.
Where did you get all your knowledge?
Oh, wow. Where did I get it? I have just been so interested in health for years and years and years that, it becomes a passion with me. And I guess I've always felt that you didn't have to be sick, you didn't have to grow old, we had to give it the best fight we could, and that was by supporting our internal systems with the right nutrition, the right supplements, meditation, not medication, but meditation, and really having a good attitude about life. And I guess I get a lot of that from my parents.
What would you like to leave the audience with?
Well, I'd like to just let the audience know that, to me, the next frontier in nutrition is cleansing and purification. In other words, you've got to be eating the proper things to really detox your system. And all of that information certainly is in my newest book, The Living Beauty Detox Program. I want to see America cleaning out from the inside. I want to see everybody with beautiful skin, hair, and nails 24 hours a day, not the kind that you wash off at night when your blush and when your mascara and all that comes off into the sink. And I think we all have a right to uncover and discover what is uniquely special about us, so we, each and every one of us, can be a living beauty.
Well, Louise, I thank you so much for joining me. It's
Thank
been
you.
wonderful. And are you detoxing or living beautiful yourself? Hope to hear from you. Bye now.